Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt, alongside Christy and Alonso. It is May 22nd. We have lots of news. We're going to share some really fun and some serious movie marquees. And I just want to say up front, if you hear some squeaking and noise like this, that's a bird in my backyard.
That happened right on
in my
cue.
backyard. Alonso thought that was some dog. No, it's a bird.
It's a sin
nature.
to kill a mockingbird.
It's a bird is a
Whatever.
plane.
Mockingbirds suck. They're super noisy. Mockingbirds are dicks. That was the original draft of Harper Lee's. It just kind of didn't take.
Right.
Random House said no to mockingbirds are dicks.
So should we do marquees first since we have 13 of them today?
Oh, good heavens.
Yes, we totally should. So
Okay.
Give me a second to share my screen.
For those of you guys listening at home, and in case you have not been following along, so many wonderful folks have sent us photos of the marquees of the movie theaters in their hometowns.
From around the
If we
world.
were really nice,
Around
we
the
would post them
world.
all.
It's really sweet.
If we were really nice, we would post them so that the listeners could see them.
Oh, we could put it on Patreon and make it a publicly available, entry.
Oh, look at that. I guess we could. All right. Well, all right. So here, let me share my screen so that everybody can see what we're doing. Okay, so the first one is one that I found, and since you guys haven't seen what we're opening the clip with, we are going to look at, this is from the Colonial, which has been doing their contest, now showing the day the Earth stayed home.
That's really cute. And it looks like kind of like funky nouveau art deco.
Oh, I love the I love the sort of curved lines around the box office. It's very
70s.
Yeah, so the Colonial is a theater in Philadelphia, I believe, and they are doing a user or fans, locals, or whoever, honestly, can send in suggestions for their marquee, and they've been running a bunch. So if you want to see more, you can look up the Colonial. This one, let me zoom in a little bit. Let's see.
It's the famous Coolidge Corner Theater.
You guys see that when I zoom in?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
So that's the Coolidge. Robert Jeanette sent that into us last Sunday, so thank you, Robert. The Coolidge closed temporarily. The show will go on thanks to you. Stay safe and healthy. Get updates from Coolidge. I'm seeing a lot more of the kind of like stay safe. I think seems like people have gotten over putting the pithy things on marquees, unfortunately. Okay, so this one, Royal Cinemas. This is sent to us by Rick Comerford, who forwarded Mary Margaret Olahan's tweet from the Front Royal in Virginia. These guys are pretty irked at the Virginia governor, saying time is running out. Ralph Northam, we need to open or be closed forever. They've lost, according to their sign, $105K in lost revenue since COVID-19 closure. Ralph Northam is the governor of Virginia. So
We should point out there are, in addition to PPP loans, obviously, that I know Criterion Collection and Janus Films has been doing an ongoing fundraising effort to help out independent cinemas, art house cinemas, and their staffs. So if you go to criterion.com, you can find out more about that. I've been playing, I played an evening of the card game Cinephile online, and they've been doing that, I think, twice a week. And it's as a fundraiser for that charity.
It's unfortunate that this is happening in the Royal Cinema. This is not the last of pictures like this that will be referencing a local longtime art house theater closing, unfortunately. So we keep our fingers crossed for everybody, because art house theaters and indie theaters are important. They, I think we can all agree, they really help film evolve, both, artistically, really just artistically. All right, so this is the Crandall Theater, it looks like. Douglas Roy sent this in from Chatham, Massachusetts. They do say they're voted the best local theater in Columbia County. And they remind us, no place like home. Oh, wait, I'll say it again. There's no place like home. Next
Although really it should be 3 times. Maybe they didn't have enough letters.
Probably. Yeah, maybe maybe not. All right, so this is the Parkway Theater. They're on intermission.
Yeah.
The Parkway is, this was sent to us by Jeff Swanson in Minneapolis.
Nice.
Our next
architecturally, it
picture,
kind of looks like the New Beverly.
yeah, it's nice. The kind of retro future, mid-century modern writing looks like the typeface that you'd see on a like old Cadillac.
There you go.
Right? Okay. Oops. Hang on. Let's see. Next up, computer is now not working. All right, here we go. This is the Castro, and I don't think we've seen this one before. But stay safe and healthy, and we'll stay healthy and safe. We'll be back soon.
Nice.
The Castro did mention that there is typically around this time of year, they're doing I think, Alonso, you might know this better than I do. I think that there's a local San Francisco kind of queer-focused film fest.
Frameline would be happening in June normally, but they have pushed their dates back to, I believe, like September or October for this year.
Yeah, thank you. I had written it down and then I forgot to grab it, but it's the Frameline Fest. Okay, next up. This one is the Laurelhurst in Portland. This is from Stephen Lafferty, who forwarded Rebecca Anderson's they're closed for now, no close encounters of any kind. We've seen that gag before, but it still works. Still works. Okay, so this is a sad story. The Manor Theater, this picture was sent to us by Thomas Espy, and somebody else sent us this picture too, but Thomas sent it first. The Manor Theater is closing down in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just can't stick it out, and that's very sad to see. That two people sent it to me indicates that it was probably a beloved local theater.
Yeah,
well, maybe. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I was just going to read, thank you, Charlotte, for 73 wonderful years. So, they hung in there a long time.
Maybe somebody will swoop in with some money and go take care of them. I hope so.
Yeah, maybe so. Do we know anyone in North Carolina?
My husband's ex-girlfriend.
Well, then let's give her a call.
She's a TV news anchor in Charlotte. Maybe she can tell a story about it.
Maybe.
There you go.
Okay. Next up,
so me as a type then.
Christy, you pointed this one out to me.
She's half Vietnamese. She looks nothing like me.
But she's TV ready.
Yes. Go ahead.
Just like Christy. Okay, so this next one, Christy pointed out from Beth Harris, AP writer, right? This is
longtime AP sports writer. Yes.
This is the Kim Sing Theater in downtown Los Angeles, just north of downtown proper, right?
It's on Figueroa, like North Figueroa.
And Alpine, according to the sign.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's Chinatown, since the Alpine Street sign also has Chinese characters on it.
Right. Day 17 of quarantine. I finished Netflix.
No, day 47 of quarantine, it says. Day 47, I finished Netflix. The Kim Sing is at like an event space, like a cool event space, and it's got a hotel, like a little boutique hotel in it.
Cool.
So hopefully they will be open again soon for fun activities.
Okay, so one of our audience members, Dylan, whose Twitter name is Quarter Coyote, sent this in from Boise. Now playing Wear a Mask. This is the Egyptian Theater in Boise, Idaho. Little local theater, and they're telling it that's an exciting movie. I would watch that. Okay, next. So Menevets, another of our audience members, who I think is based in New York, sent us a few pictures. This is the Joyce Theater. This is not a movie theater, but it's a space that they tell us to dance again. Yeah, I think concerts. So we'll dance again. That's optimistic. He sent a picture from, he pointed us to the Kino Lorber feed. So the Kino Lorber feed is posting, like we've been doing in our videos, they've been posting some pictures and some mentions of local theaters that presumably they're partnered with. So this is the Texas Theater in Dallas, Texas.
The legendary Texas Theater where Lee Harvey Oswald was arrested.
Yeah. So
and still operating.
Yes. I like that these guys used. I like that they used the ellipses in eventually, and I particularly like that there is a marquee insert that is ellipses.
Oh yeah, well, that's true.
I'm very impressed.
Somebody made one. Yeah, for people who are listening and not watching, it says "Stay strong, stay safe, Dallas. Do come and see films here." Ellipsis eventually.
Yes, very exciting. and then I saved what is my personal favorite for the last one, also from the Kino Lorber feed. This is The Loft in Tucson, Arizona. Be excellent to each other. The wise words of Bill and Ted.
Wild Stallions.
Right? Ted Theodore Logan and Bill S. Preston, Esquire. Be excellent to each other.
And party on, dude.
Party on, dudes. And also, love the old school kind of like 60s look for The Loft and the cinema with the very jaunty, kind of offset
that's a great logo
of cinema. So
I would buy a T-shirt with that logo on it if they sell one.
They probably do. Well, if you're interested,
loftcinema.org, as it says.
I'm going to have to go
you
look.
could go to Loft Cinema. And also, for those listening and not able to read this, loftcinema.org will show you streaming titles, including the best of Cat Video Fest. Yeah, so I think we definitely need to check that out. So there we are. That's it.
That was great. That was a great little geographical cross-section and some upbeat ones and some sad ones. And good. So hopefully we'll all find a way to support these great folks once we find some way to get back to something. You guys ready for news?
Oh, yes.
Always.
Time now for news. So the big news in our world here today is that the Snyder Cut, the mythical Snyder Cut, is finally coming out after a couple of years of people clamoring on social media to hashtag release the Snyder Cut. HBO Max will be doing just that next year. So,
but first, they have to reshoot and finish the Snyder Cut. Let's be clear. There will be there's certainly going to be things that need to be finished, effects pieces, and probably some shooting.
I mean, that's the question I have is that Zack Snyder supposedly had a 4-hour cut of Justice League that was done. And they held on to, like, his original cut was 4 hours, and then he was going to try and get it down to 2, but he left mid-production, right? I mean, so the story. If we can backtrack for a minute, I mean, if you're watching this show or listening to this show, you must probably know what this is. But if not, I will explain briefly. Zack Snyder had to leave the production partway through Justice League. Tragically, his daughter killed herself, and so he understandably had to leave the production. Joss Whedon took over, and what came out in November 2017 did not resemble what his vision was. And Zack Snyder himself apparently has never seen what came out theatrically. But it got pretty savaged critically. It didn't make the kind of money that Warner Brothers probably hoped for a big, their version of the Avengers, essentially. And so there has been rumor for a long time that Zack Snyder had his own version of Justice League, the legendary Snyder Cut. Warner Brothers is spending $20 million to allow him to finish it, whatever that requires, as you were saying, Matt. Like, is it just re-editing? Is it just visual effects and post-production stuff? I mean, will Ben Affleck get back in the bat suit? I don't know.
As our colleague Russ Fisher noted on Twitter, the Snyder Cut news proves that the Snyder Cut did not yet exist. It seems to me like, given the production history of this film, that it's not like there's this film sitting on the shelf just waiting to go. Like, there is, I'm sure, a rough assemblage. There's going to be missing scenes. Maybe some of it's going to be, I don't know, animatic or something. But and I'm glad you brought that up, Alonso, because I think that if there is some 4-hour cut that Snyder says that he had on a drive that he took with him, I would bet solid money that a lot of that is animatic, because especially for the types of shoots, animatics, for, if you don't know what it is, it's kind of rough sketch work, and either, in this day and age, it's very, very kind of probably chunky. They're like storyboards that are animated.
Right. Or low res CGI.
Yeah.
That
if you saw the season, sorry.
That you might use for reference of, where you're going to put your actors and what kind of locations you need to find, all kinds of planning. But it's done to kind of demonstrate, it's basically, you're right, it's like a storyboard, but animated, and maybe a little bit more in depth, especially considering the amount of effects that would be in a movie like Justice League. Not the least, and then now I can't help but wonder, like, did they have to do animatics to take the mustache out?
I'd forgotten about that.
That's a whole other level of weird CG.
Right? Like maybe there's a whole like separate set of scenes that are all just like solo scenes with Superman that are all just these rough draft scenes to like, here's without the mustache.
Did you guys happen to catch the season finale of The Blacklist or see the ads for it? Because apparently they had not completed shooting before the lockdown happened. So they used these like animatics basically to kind of like fill in shots that weren't there or bridge scenes together, people walking down hallways, or like the other half of conversations where they shot one side of it but not the other one. So yeah, like they actually, just so they can get the show on the air. So I'm suspecting that as whatever version of Justice League currently exists, and maybe even the one that we eventually get on HBO Max is going to be akin to that, where it's going to be, you know, or like the restoration of the 1954 A Star Is Born, where there was some footage they just couldn't find, and they literally just took photographs and kind of zoomed in and out on them.
Oh, right.
And across them.
So a lot is still up in the air. It's including whether it will indeed be one long single film or like a 6-part TV series, essentially. They're paying $20 million to let him finish this. And I mean, am I excited to see it? I went back and I watched our What the Flick review of Justice League, and Matt, you liked it better than Alonso and I did. Alonso and I were kind of like, Joss Whedon stepped in to finish it, and maybe he made it a little lighter, a little cheekier, but there's still quite a bit of Zack Snyder's signature visual, imprint on here. And I guess I'm curious just because it's our job and, and just to know how is it going to be different. But I'm not like, woo, the Snyder cut.
I can't help it. I mean, I was at Rotten Tomatoes at the time, and I, where my head still goes is from the standpoint of putting reviews in the system, you kind of would have to call out a separate movie entry, right? Because you would be, and that was the thing that would come up for us all the time is, would we, like if a movie showed at a festival and it got recut, would we change the reviews? And it, it kind of depends on like how much was changed, right?
That's about to happen in a couple of weeks. We're reviewing a new Netflix movie called Wasp Network from director Olivier Assayas. I reviewed it in Venice last year, but then after that screening, it was extensively recut. So now I got to watch it again and see what this version is like. But yeah, you would definitely have to have a new page, I think, because the reviews of the theatrical Justice League are not going to be the same, for better or for worse, than what this version is going to be like.
I wonder how different it's going to be. I wonder, like, is it top to bottom totally different, or will big chunks of it still remain, and then like cohesive things in between are different? So that I'm curious about.
Well, for $20 million, it can't be that different.
Do we have to go back, you guys? Do we have to go back and watch the original Justice League again, just to have a good basis of comparison?
What else do we have going on?
So
this could be a year from now. I mean, look, the movie nerd in me always likes to know about alternate versions and the ones we didn't get to see. And film history is sort of littered with these. Like, it took until last year for us to get a U.S. Blu-ray release of Wim Wenders' complete cut of Until the End of the World. So I like when directors get to sort of go back and be like, no, this is really what I meant to do. This particular movie I don't particularly care about. I mean, as Mark Edward Hoyk, who is a film programmer and writer here in town, had this great, the graph brain gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The small version of the brain is release Zack Snyder's cut, and then it grows with release Ken Russell's uncensored cut of The Devils, and then release James Bridges' flashback cut of Mike's Murder, and then finally release Bill Gunn's Stop. Like, I would much rather see the director's cuts of Stop, Mike's Murder, and The Devils than Justice League. But, I'm never going to stand in the way of this sort of thing happening. So great, knock yourself out.
Okay, so we will track that as it is evolving. Other big movie news is a new trailer for Tenet came out yesterday. It looks really cool and trippy, but very notably in it, at the end, it just says, coming to theaters. It does not specify a day, as trailers usually do.
What?
And I saw the deadline.
They've been saying.
I know. And then Deadline today had some shitty story about New York and LA are going to hold up Tenet.
Wah, wah, wah. Sorry about the deaths, Right.
It's not safe to go to the ArcLight yet. I'm not ready.
I mean, they could put it in a theater.
That's true.
I mean, you could put it in theaters.
Does drive-in count?
Nobody goes in.
For Mr.
I mean,
Nolan,
it played
or,
right. Like we played it in 200 screens in LA.
If it's screened to the Mission Tiki, would that meet his qualification of the big screen, or the fact that you're listening to it on your car radio sort of undo that?
I suspect Christopher Nolan would have some issues with the quality of projection and sound at the Mission Tiki in Monrovia.
Whatever. Where's he going to find a bigger screen than that?
Exactly.
Yeah. The side of a building. Yeah. It'll be like Cinema Paradiso.
Don't give him any ideas.
No, it'll be like Cinema Paradiso. We'll go to some little charming square in Italy and project it on the wall.
Like is that the mausoleum at the Hollywood Forever where they project movies? Could you, is that big enough for IMAX or no? I guess not.
I don't know. We can't gather there. But we'll already be in cemeteries. And when we die, it's going to be so convenient. So that's the big deal too, is that, Tenet, all full steam ahead with Tenet as if it were a real thing that's going to exist in our world. So
right. But I'm glad you pointed out the end of that trailer though, because there was all that news originally, like, oh, they had a date, right? It was going to be July 7th, right?
Or 17th.
17th, right. July 17th. And now like, hey, maybe we shouldn't put that in. Maybe we shouldn't write that down.
Yeah, we're hedging slightly. Right,
because then they'd have to get everybody to take the trailers down, and that would be the running joke.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is not really coronavirus related, but it was also kind of big news this week that Lori Loughlin and her husband pleaded guilty to the whole college admission scandal.
Hashtag white justice.
Right. After saying before, like, oh, we didn't do anything wrong. And she was super like glib and flippant at court and like smiling and really friendly and did not show like the kind of contrition that Felicity Huffman did, which was smart. She's also a better actress, Felicity Huffman. So now they're pleading guilty. But what's interesting is that Lori Loughlin's only going to get 2 months in prison, and her husband, Massimo Giannulli, is going to get 5.
Well, she's cuter than this.
Is that what, I don't know. I guess she's the one who, or he, I guess, did he arrange the meeting with the guy in Orange County? I don't know. Anyway, so they're going to prison.
Do you have
but is she going back to When Calls the Heart? That's what we really want to know.
I don't know. Whenever production begins, I'm sure she'll be right there.
Do you have the Greyhound news?
I do. I'm about to get to that. So the Tom Hanks movie Greyhound is going to debut on Apple Plus. That's sort of a bigger movie to do that. It was supposed to open in theaters on Father's Day weekend, June 19th. And like Apple Plus outbid everybody. It was like tens of millions of dollars to get to release this. And it's interesting because it is a big movie that's not like an animated family movie. Like so far we have seen Trolls World Tour and Scoob, and those big movies that have gone straight to digital have been, kind of surefire bet family friendly movies. And this is like a big, Tom Hanks wrote it and he stars in it.
We're also
drama.
We're also seeing with like focus features, they had a brief theatrical with Never Rarely Sometimes Always, but even that weekend, the one weekend they were out in theaters was already people were staying home. And so it didn't do what they did. And so they made it a rental. And now they're doing that with the Steve Carell movie that was directed by Jon Stewart.
Right, which you just sent us a thing on, which is called can't remember.
It's Steve Carell and Rose Byrne, and they play political consultants who get involved. Irredeemable? No.
Anyway,
Irresistible.
There you go.
Irresistible.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Well,
what else?
Going back to the Greyhound, I think that's actually kind of a smart move for Apple, because considering who that movie will be popular with, I think it introduces Apple as a streaming service to kind of an older demo that might otherwise not be that into it.
And the morning show is a similar demo, I would argue, and that was Apple Plus's big TV.
I think Apple Plus is desperate to be talked about, frankly. I mean, apart from the morning show, like what have you seen get any kind of traction there? None of their, I don't ever see anybody on Twitter talking about any of their series. There wasn't a lot of talk about the banker.
Chris Evans Isn't Defending Jacob?
It is.
Yes,
but it's not gotten much.
I haven't seen people talk about that nearly as much as like Little Fires Everywhere. You know, like the Defending Jacob has barely been a blip. I don't think the Beastie Boys documentary really like got the traction that maybe it might have elsewhere. So I think they're really trying to sort of not be seen as an also-ran because they haven't had a Mandalorian yet. They haven't had a Tiger King yet, you know?
That's true. So here's a cool thing that Taika Waititi is doing. He's very humbly calling it Taika and Friends. He's having this ridiculously star-studded array of celebrities read James and the Giant Peach over Zoom. Yes. And it's incredible. It's like Meryl Streep, Lupita Nyong'o, both Hemsworths, 2 out of 3 Hemsworths.
I was going to say
there. Chris and Liam, Ryan Reynolds, Tessa Thompson, Beanie Feldstein, Kate Blanchett, Benedict Cumberbatch, Kumail Nanjiani. It's an incredible array of people. And so they're reading James and the Giant Peach. It is a fundraiser for Partners in Health, which provides medical services for people in need. So that, I believe, is out now. I think the first couple of episodes are out now. They're on YouTube. It is free. And new episodes come out Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So that's kind of a cool thing. What else? Oh, we didn't talk about this. Variety had a story this week about the Academy considering postponing the Oscars next year entirely.
Yes.
It's not a bad idea.
It's not. I don't know.
Look, if during World War II, like, let's put ourselves in the scenario of like we were Britain and we were like bombed out and theaters were having to close and there wasn't any sort of like regular distribution happening, they would have skipped a year. And I think
except there was that one theater that never closed, right?
In Britain.
Yeah, right. The one that was the movie about the nude women that they never remember. What was that movie?
Oh, Mrs.
Yeah, with Judi Dench. Remember? Yeah,
Mrs. something.
Anyway,
Double Days, something or other.
Yeah, I forget. Anyway, I think given the state of film distribution in 2020 and the state of film festivals and everything else, it would make perfect sense. And really, the only people that I've seen making a big stink about it are the people who basically their livelihoods rely on talking about the Oscars all year long.
And it just seems like if the infrastructure, leading up to it is not there, then what is the point? So, yes, I agree. Mrs. Peregrine, no, that's not it. I'm on Judi Dench's IMDb page, and I know what you're talking about, and we'll get to it eventually.
We reviewed it.
Did we?
Mrs. Twicklethix. I don't know.
It's something like that.
Some cutesy British thing.
It's a very
Humperdinck.
Mrs. Henderson Presents?
Yes.
That's not British enough.
No. Not to be confused with Mrs. Brown, where she plays Victoria.
Also of note, so here is a thing that was really cool that I just discovered this week because an old college friend of mine posted it on Facebook. John Taylor from Duran Duran is doing bass tutorials on the Duran Duran Facebook page. Now, this is the coolest thing. I'll tell you why. I don't know how to play the bass. I don't know how to play any instrument. I don't read music.
But now you're going to get a bass.
But you would look at John Taylor for an hour.
Then we can sing Christy sang bass.
I was always a Simon Le Bon girl, but I very much appreciate the fact that he'll break down like Rio. He's done Rio, Girls on Film, and Planet Earth. And we've all heard Rio a million times, and I heard it in a completely new way from the perspective of just the bass line. And he tells stories about how the songs came together, and he's just really likable. He's hanging out in his home in LA, playing the bass and explaining like where different bass lines came from and like the influence of funk on Duran Duran. And he's still a babe, John Taylor. Anyway, so that's on Facebook.
You know what made me pay like real attention to the bass line of Rio for the first time? That scene in Sing Street. where the older brother is explaining why Duran Duran like is doing something different, you know.
There you go. They're serious musicians and not just pretty in eyeliner. They matter. Let's see. So also, what other news do I have that is of note?
The sliding doors guy.
Yes. Okay. So there is a movie coming out. The thing that we've been worried about, like, they're going to make coronavirus movies. They're writing the screenplays now. They are indeed. And the first one to actually be announced is called Lockdown. It is set in LA. It is from Sliding Doors director Peter Howitt. It's about 7 characters over 60 days and their lives and how they intertwine or don't. I guess it's set in Santa Monica. I don't need to see that, but I guess
I think
I guess we'll have to talk about it.
The race will be, does that come out before or after Michael Bay's movie that's set like 2 years from now where the virus is even worse?
Oh,
that also got announced this week. Yeah, I know.
Really? Michael Bay's doing one?
Yeah.
Oh.
What's going to blow up if we're all stuck in our houses?
Oh, look,
sneezes will be so explosive.
I'm sure he's just trying to get something finished before the election, and it's going to be all about how this whole thing was a hoax to make Trump look bad.
Yes. Okay, so what else is new? Oh, so this is a sad thing. All 540 Pier 1 stores are closing because of coronavirus. Oh, we failed to mention the fact that the new Tenet trailer came out on Fortnite. I didn't watch it there. Yes, Nick, Fortnite. Oh, my kid. Really?
Yeah, somebody made a joke that the trailer for the new Apichatpong Veerasethakun movie was going to be on Minesweeper.
Yeah, it's never too early. And then
hang on. I'm sorry. Fortnite? That's not the target audience. I mean, look, there are plenty of movies that would make sense for. Absolutely.
Scoob.
Another Star Wars movie, Deadpool. Like I would have put the Lovebirds trailer on Fortnite before I would have put Tenet.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they wanted to do Words with Friends, but
does Christopher Nolan know about this?
Christopher Nolan has children, so apparently he does. Also, so we have sad news. Moving to our sad news, we have several folks passed away this week, and it's very, very sad. Starting with Lynn Shelton.
Yes.
Who was only 54, and it was some very sudden blood disorder.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys listened to or could get through Mark Maron's really
heard about it.
Powerfully heart-tugging podcast this week about it. He re-aired the podcast interview he did with her, which is where he first met her. But he did this intro where he's like crying and talking about how much he loved her and how he knew that she loved him too, and how he was a much better version of himself with her, and just what a great woman she was. We have reviewed several of her movies here, I believe, including Your Sister's Sister. If you guys go to our Patreon, we're going to review one of her movies next week based on your votes. There are 4 of her films up there. But and she worked a lot with our friend Ben Kasulki, cinematographer, who was an a la carte alum. But yeah, for all reports, just that she was lovely and generous and creative and just so upbeat, and 54 is very young. Yeah,
Kimberly Pierce left a very lovely remembrance about their friendship on Facebook. And then
Melanie Linsky had a nice one on Twitter.
Yes. There was the thing about the Marin thing that I was going to mention, and I lost it. But
they were together for 5 years. Mark Maron and Lynn Shelton. They co-starred in Sort of Trust, which she directed, which we reviewed here. I think we did.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's just very heartbreaking. So if you follow any film folks on Twitter, that's probably crossed your feed the last few days. Fred Willard.
Yes.
The man was a treasure and just a genius.
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I was a kid watching. It's funny, I never watched Mary Hartman, but I did watch Fernwood Tonight, which was the spin-off where he and Martin Mull were the hosts of like this sort of just ridiculous local talk show that then later became America Tonight, and it was on a larger scale but still ridiculous. And I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, my first exposure to Fred Willard was Real People.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah, just
a much more fun version of That's Incredible.
Yeah, a perfect fit for all those Christopher Guest movies, because he could be like just so sly and so deadpan and like find the surrealism in them, but like sell it with authenticity and groundedness. And he was lovely. So he was like 84 years old, I want to say. Fred Willard. Also, Ken Osmond, who was Eddie Haskell on Leave It to Beaver, he died this past week. Not of coronavirus, but he lived a really interesting life. I didn't realize this was that, first of all, Eddie Haskell was only supposed to have been like a 1-episode character, but like there was such a spark to him that they kept him on for the whole rest of the series. And
he became an archetype for generations. Like you could describe somebody as being an Eddie Haskell and you knew what they meant.
Well, up until a point, right? Because once programming changes and you end up with a different type of especially like with the advent of cable,
sure,
and Leave It to Beaver is not getting, you're not watching it because there's nothing else on. So, I think there's I wonder what the age is, but probably I would suspect at most 25, but probably 25 and under, unless somebody's told you about Leave It to Beaver. You probably don't know who Eddie Haskell was.
I would say like 40 and under, because I think once you get into the generation of kids who had like Nick and and Disney aimed at them 24/7, they weren't watching reruns anymore, and so that's just a generational thing that's lost to them. But
it's sad.
Yeah.
But so after Leave It to Beaver, after television, he became an LA police officer for a long time.
No shit.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So
there's so many jokes about him being is assuming like a dirty cop, right? Like, Officer Haskell, you're not up to no good. Oh no, Sergeant, I'm.
Oh, Commissioner, I would never.
Anyway, so a very busy week with some good news and some sad news. Yeah. But I think maybe once we get on the other side of this, I don't know. We'll have to talk about this. People seem to like that we're doing this, so maybe we should keep doing this, like a little news and update segment at the beginning of.
Sure.
Yes.
Why not?
And my dog is here. Baxter is here.
Yes. Oh, yes. You need to give us a review of Baxter. We have been asked. Some people asked, can we get a review of your first week with the dog
Nick,
and the dog
Baxter?
himself?
Nick, where's Baxter? Can you go get him? Go look. I want to bring him up here. He's been great. Where is he? Oh, he's at my feet.
Lady?
Baxter, can you pick him up and bring him to me? Can you nudge him? He's a total sweetheart. He must have lived with a family because he's really trusting, and he wants to come and hang out and cuddle. He follows me around the house. He slept with Nick the other night in bed all night. And
so he's kind of cliched.
No,
nothing you haven't seen before.
Here, come bring him over here.
So many familiar tropes.
Hang on.
Exactly.
Hold on.
But they still do them well, right? I mean, there's no new ground being broken.
Sure, sometimes you just want the classics.
Exactly. And Baxter. Look at them. Here, wait. Let me zoom in. Hang on. Let me see if I can hit. Oh, she left too soon. Oh, well.
I realized that was bad podcasting just now, but for those of you watching at home, that was Baxter.
Yes.
Anyway,
finally, an answer to the question: who's a good boy?
He's a good boy. He's really sweet, and I feel so lucky. He knows how to walk on a leash. He knows how to be with a family. Like, he clearly lived with a family. I don't know what happened to him. He got let out. He wandered off. His family got sick. I don't know what happened to him, but I feel very lucky that he's now a part of our lives.
Yay!
So what's your score?
Yes, he gets a 10. He's off the charts.
All right. Okay.
He's perfect.
Okay. Well, good.
Oh, is that it? All right.
Yeah, cool. I think so.
Oh, wait, quick. I'm going to show off my mug. The False Idol from San Diego. A must stop for many of us at San Diego Comic-Con. The mug is made by Tiki Farm, designed by Dane. So anyway, False Idol.
Very pretty. Again, if you're just listening to this, you are missing so much.
You'll go to the YouTube page and you can watch all of the fascinating things in our lives.
It's a barrel that has lava coming out of it, and there's some palm leaves.
Very nice. So, hey, if you are watching this, thanks. And like this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on the social medias at BeFastAllDay at Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Yes, I know media is already plural. Don't write me about that. And check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. That's where we do extra fun stuff for our subscribers. As Christy mentioned, next week we'll be reviewing one of the films of Lynn Shelton that's currently streaming. On top of that, we are talking about Mrs. America on Hulu, and we're kicking off our recaps of The Great on Hulu about Catherine the Great, starring Elle Fanning and Nicholas Hoult. So lots of fun stuff over there. Check it out. Thanks for watching. See you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.